our priorities are totally misplaced. And that's why I'm running, because we got to get back to protecting and serving and honoring our oath to the people. I mean, the people pay a lot of taxes in this county, and we basically abuse that.
This special report is brought to you by La Paz County News, your independent source for local, national, and world news. Find us today on Facebook, YouTube, and at lapazcountynews.com. Welcome to this La Paz County News special report. I'm Dan Powers. Mike Roth is La Paz County's independent candidate for county sheriff. He is well known for his local activism, outspoken personality, and somewhat ironically, his interactions with local law enforcement, who Roth says in many cases have lost sight of their duty to the Constitution. Whether you like him or not, chances are you already know something about Roth. He's undoubtedly the most active candidate for sheriff on local social media groups, and if nothing else, you've probably seen one of his 6-foot-high, bright yellow campaign signs somewhere, or his Dump the Good Old Boys campaign dump truck that he's been cruising around in lately. Recently, we invited candidates from some of the local political races to participate in a debate against their opponents. Unfortunately, Mike Roth was the only one to accept our invitation. Some of these candidates didn't even bother to decline our invitation or to issue a statement from their campaign. We couldn't put on a proper debate because we only got one registration, so we have symbolically named Mike Roth the winner of the first round. Symbolic as it may be, though, it does show his dedication to get out in front of the community and discuss his ideas for office. In that light, we decided to sit down with Roth to give him a chance to do what he signed up for, speak directly to the community about his run for sheriff. Mike is on the line with me now. Can you hear me, Mike?
Yes, I can, Dan. Thank you.
Awesome. Hey, well, I wanted to first just thank you for being the one candidate that we reached out to who was willing to put themselves out there for a debate. It's kind of a shame that nobody else registered, but since you did, we wanted to give you time to address the people of La Paz County and let them know what you're all about. With that in mind, I'm just going to give you the floor and let you address the voters.
Well, it's disheartening that nobody else wants to participate in the process, yet they want to get the job. I think in order to qualify for the job, you actually have to work for it. So, my experience here in Quartzsite especially is the people who get the job forget who they really work for. And I want the people of La Paz County to know that I truly do work for them, and when things like this come up, I will be available. I won't be an absentee sheriff by any stretch of the imagination. I know I've experienced this here in Quartzsite anyway. These people that want the job are your best friend, and then once they get the job, leave a message, I'll get back to you, and I never hear from them again. So it's kind of sad and frustrating, but I got to tell you, it's kind of normal.
Yeah, and we've had the same experience trying to get a hold of people. Well, there's definitely no doubt about the fact that you're the most outspoken candidate in La Paz County. If anybody's paying attention, they definitely know who you are. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your campaign and what you're running for, what you want to do here?
Well, I'm an independent running for sheriff, and my campaign is all about getting back to the basics, which is the Constitution. The Constitution has been ignored forever in law enforcement in La Paz County, and probably most places around the country now too. And here in La Paz County, my opponent, we're in a really scary situation because my opponent believes in federalization of law enforcement, the expansion of federalized law enforcement, as evidenced by his training and continued training with the FBI. Now, all we have to do is do a little bit of research to find out how dangerous that is. Our founding fathers warned us about getting involved or the federalization of the states. The states are supposed to have states' rights. That's the 10th Amendment.
Right.
And now we're out here doing whatever the federal government tells us to do, and even begging to do it by getting involved in these programs. And I've never seen an officer go through, and I've had two of them, two chief of police go through the FBI training, come back the same person. They come back a different lawman. They come back with revenue schemes. They come back with, we got to expand civil asset forfeiture. We got to get more cops on the freeway, more time on the freeway, chasing down, that free money, they like to call it. And meanwhile, here in Quartzsite especially, and I know other parts of the county, Salome and Baus, I've heard horror stories about during the summer. Well, the thieves run wild and nothing's ever done to them. I mean, there's no investigations. Our priorities are totally misplaced. And that's why I'm running, because we got to get back to protecting and serving and honoring our oath to the people. I mean, the people pay a lot of taxes in this county, and we basically abuse that by looking for ways to line our department's pocket. And I want to get away from that. We have a budget. We'll live within the budget. And I want to get back to doing real police work, chasing down criminals, robbers, burglars, thieves, rapists, murderers, instead of speeders, people with a little bit of weed in their car, that's just ridiculous. And we're ruining it for the county.
Yeah.
So anyway, what I would like to talk about is what I would like to do in the first 100 days, because my opponents have not. I'm sorry?
Oh, go for it, yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, my opponents have not laid out a plan whatsoever. And what I have heard them, where they have had some ideas, is after they've heard me speak, and they kind of plagiarize some ideas. And that's fine. Imitation's the greatest form of flattery, I guess. But I would like to hear more about ideas in this campaign. We're not getting any, and I'm glad you're doing these debates. There are no debates scheduled in the county, and I hope you can get somewhere with this. And when we don't have debates, we all lose. We don't really get to know who we're electing. So anyway, I'd like to talk about what I want to do within the first 100 days to get our department, hit the ground running. The very first thing I want to do is set up a videotape every week where I explain what your sheriff's department is up to. We're going to be talking about things.
Nice.
Again, right now, we do not know anything what's going on in the sheriff's department. Only what we hear, our friend Bob, who talked to this one officer, or I have a neighbor who's friends with an officer, and this is what I was told. We're going to end that. We're going to weekly videotape presentations talking about what's happened in your sheriff's department this week. And, and the bottom line is it gets down to communication. Communication is key. And, when nobody knows what's going on, frustration sets in, and then people are upset with the police department. So I want to end that by bringing transparency. I think it'll also bring more trust to the department. Another thing I want to do, and this has nothing to do with law enforcement, but it does affect us all, is I will videotape all of the Board of Supervisor meetings and share it on the same website and make it so people can comment on it too.
Yeah, that's great.
People don't know what's going on with the management of this county. And when people do go to the meetings, they are frequently shocked and appalled by some of the things. I'm not going to talk about things that happened recently because when I get into office here, we're going to be videotaping it. People are going to be able to watch the meetings every 2 weeks in live time. So there won't be any editing. I'm kind of hoping, Dan, that this creates a little videotape revolution on the politicians of the county, because I personally believe all county-wide meetings should be videotaped and made available, like all your school board meetings.
Right. Why not, right?
Yeah. So maybe we can get somebody else involved. They'll take the time out to go videotape the various school board meetings.
Yeah. I mean, at this point, it's super easy and basically free to tape and broadcast anything you want to the entire world. So really no excuse to not be doing that.
None. Well, the reason why they don't is, they don't want light shown on what they're doing or not doing.
Well, maybe I should have said no good excuse.
Exactly. So again, I want to bring a transparency to the department and, to the county. And another way I'll do that is I want to install a suggestion box. Now, this seems really old school, but I've seen it happen and work well. I want to put a suggestion box right outside the front door of the sheriff's office so people can contribute ideas.
I love it. And you could even set up like suggestions at lapazcountysheriff.com or wherever people could email suggestions too,
That's exactly what I want to do. I want to have an online suggestion box too. And I'm going to read those suggestions on the weekly video update.
Oh, nice. See, that's great. I like everything you're talking about here is just basically boils down to communication and transparency. And communication is, what's the old adage? It's the foundation of every good relationship, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and that's why we have a bad relationship with law enforcement right now. People are not happy with law enforcement in quartzsite, no matter how flowery the politicians and their sycophants make it seem. But come to quartzsite and talk to people who live here all year round. It's not a pretty thing. And then when you try to get answers, leadership's nowhere to be found. I won't be like that. I'm not going to be hiding behind I'm in a meeting excuse or I'm not here, any of that. I will be available. And another thing I want to do is I want to install and promote a crime tip line where people can leave anonymous tips about criminal activity in their neighborhood. You can leave your contact info if you want us to follow up with you, or you can remain anonymous if you want to. Either way, we need to start getting the people involved. This idea, bad idea, that law enforcement knows what to do best. Let us do our job, stay out of it. That's the mindset right now. I think it's a bad mindset, and it's why so many of our crimes go unsolved. We just need to get the people involved more. And
I mean, it seems like it can't hurt to have more information about what's going on, right?
Correct. I don't know why we don't do it now.
I mean, at some point you have to address that maybe some false information could come into the system and things have to be vetted, but I would see it as objectively a good thing for more information to be available to the police about what may or may not be happening in the community, police and sheriffs. Yeah.
We'll be able to take notes and put it in the file and check it out, see if it's true or if it's just vendettas. We'll find out. Again, if we take the law enforcement off the freeway and put them back in the community, we'll have more time to actually investigate these things versus out there chasing this money going up and down the freeway. The other thing I want to really talk about and stress is red flag gun laws. For those of you that don't know what a red flag gun law is, basically it is a violation of your constitutional right. It is the elimination of your due process. And what red flag gun laws mean in a nutshell is a family member could call up and say, he's crazy. He said this, whatever they say.
But not just a family member, right? It could be basically anybody, couldn't it?
Anybody. It happens all the time. A jealous neighbor, a jealous girlfriend or boyfriend. And, sadly, people have died as a result of this too. Police show up, next thing you know, the person's startled, the cop shoots, oh, dang, the law says. I don't agree with that. And as your sheriff, I will not be enforcing red flag gun laws. They are coming. They're coming throughout the entire country. I think half the states are close to it.
A lot of states have adopted some form already. And another thing that's been pointed out, I think, is that, a malicious person could manipulate that red flag law to disarm somebody they intended to harm.
Exactly. And that's happened. That is absolutely people. And people have died. It's a bad law. It needs to be thrown in the trash. We are going to eliminate it through nullification in La Paz County.
And is this a position that is held pretty much across the board at this point in the general election for the sheriffs, or do your opponents have different views on red flag laws, or do you know?
Well, I don't know. I mean, my opponent has been afraid to show up at local debates. So when the questions were brought up, he's not been forced to answer them. So who knows?
Yeah, we could have asked him right now, but instead it's just the mic show, huh?
Yeah. Yeah, well, and that's the way it's going to be if you don't elect me. Anyway, my opponent is for the expansion of the police state. That's evidenced by this FBI training. I'm all
and this
for
is Ponce you're talking about, right? Not Rodriguez?
Well, Rodriguez as well. I mean, he works for Ponce. There's no difference between the two. I mean, they're friends. And the rumor has it the play is going to be run out like this. They'll get close to the election, and Rodriguez is going to drop out and endorse Ponce. So,
kind of like a Kanye West type situation, huh?
I guess, yeah. I mean, you know, but there's no difference between the two. I like Felipe. I have no problems with him. He's got a long career in law enforcement here. I don't know anything about his career, good, bad, or ugly, nothing. I've met his son, who is a La Paz County Sheriff's Deputy. I believe he is. Was he La Paz? I think he is. Anyway, I met him once. But there's no
You're
difference.
saying that they're basically one and the same, but one's running as a Republican and one is a Democrat, and their plan, you think it's pre-planned for them to for him to drop out and endorse and try to manipulate the vote that way?
Yeah, I mean, because let's admit it, a Democrat running for sheriff is not going to get elected. Just not. So.
Well, in this county, it would be very difficult, yeah.
Yeah. You know, the only way a Democrat would be to win was if a Republican and independent dropped out, in my opinion. I just see it, and there's a reason why he's in there. He's never had an interest in politics before, and he's had quite an interesting career in La Paz County, and that's not saying anything bad about him either. But he's bounced around. Sure. So has Ponce. Ponce has bounced around. I think he's had 4 or 5 jobs in his 20-year career. We were all a little surprised when he came back so fast to Quartzsite. I mean, why would anybody want to come back to Quartzsite? And that's a very good question to ask, because Quartzsite is not a place people generally come to for long term. And he had been here a long time. He knows what a whole Quartzsite is, so there's a reason why. And I can only speculate about that. I have my theories, and people have told me things. But I want to talk about Mike Roth and what he's going to do for the county. So let's get back on what we can do to make La Paz County better.
Yeah, so I don't want this to run too long, but we do want to have you back for more interviews. But if you want to, in closing, why don't you elaborate on that statement and leave us on a positive note with what else you're trying to bring to the county?
Well, I got a bunch of ideas. The main thing is I want to deputize volunteers throughout the county. Our county is so big, so wide, so spread out, you know, and we don't have that many officers. I think we have about a dozen patrol officers, right around that number. And so, you know, we've all seen the bumper stickers when seconds count. Police are minutes away. Well, in La Paz County, it could be hours. And I've heard horror stories where they don't come out until the next day, and sometimes they never see an officer. So we've got to get the people participating in the process, because the fact of the matter is, the truth is, the people are the true first responders. And we've got to get the people trained. We have to get people involved. This whole idea that we can depend on the government to be right there to save us, that's a lie. It's not even true. It's never going to be true.
That's a really powerful statement, Mike, and you're right, because almost every time something goes down, just some normal person is there first. I've been the first one on the scene of multiple car accidents and stuff. And, and I had some training, but, I would love to see a world in which, our elected officials, particularly our law enforcement, had more communication and faith in the community. And it sounds like that's like what you're pushing for.
Yeah. I mean, we could have leaders in all the different areas. We could call it whatever we want, but I'm just making up names right now. We could have, the Salome Community Posse. We could have the Baus Community Posse with a leader and communications and updates from the leaders. See, I don't plan on spending a lot of time in the office. I'm going to spend lion's share of my time out in the community. There will be an undersheriff who runs the department. I don't want to get involved in the day-to-day operations. That's what you've got people below you for. A good leader hires good people and works with those good people. So that's what I plan on doing and working with the people. I don't work for the Board of Supervisors. I don't work for the governor. I don't work for President Trump. I work for the people that vote me in. That's who I work for. That's it. They are the people that voted me in, and I want to make sure that they see, real police work being done, not this garbage that we're doing now, which is basically revenuing, ticketing schemes, stuff like that. And I could talk more about that. I want to bring back the warning ticket. These tickets are becoming punitive. Some people say that one of the favorite tickets in courtside is the no seatbelt ticket. It's $100 ticket.
Mm-hmm.
People say,
I know somebody who got one a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, I know lots of people, and I know people that say, you know what, that hurts me. And then people will just pay it. It's only $100. Well, then why don't you pay it if it's only $100? $100 to someone who's struggling is groceries or a light bill. Okay, and I firmly believe if we got back to officer friendly, which is the law enforcement I grew up with as a youth, we'll have people that will, be happy to see the cop and wave to them instead of, oh no, there's a cop behind me. And I just want to get more community oriented when it comes to police. So that's in a nutshell. I can keep talking. I could talk for days about things we can do, but is there anything?
Oh, we know you can for sure, man. If you want to leave us with one last thought, you can. Otherwise, I just thank you for coming on with us here.
Well, the bottom line is, Dan, I want to get away from the enforcement of unconstitutional laws. I understand They are very lucrative for law enforcement to be involved in these things because the federal government has said, hey, it's all good to go. We passed a law. An example of that is civil asset forfeiture. And if people don't know what that is, I encourage you to get on the internet and look it up because basically what it is legalized theft. Okay, what they do is they will seize assets without any due process, and then you have to go to court to prove that pile of cash that you had in your pocket was earned justly, instead of the other way around where you have due process and then they can charge you. We're doing it backwards. We're just taking the money. I've seen it in court site. I know an officer that got fired over not taking somebody's $20,000. He said, no, This is my job. I'm not going to do it. They have the documents. But his superior, the chief at the time, and the lieutenant at the time overrid him and did it anyway. They took the two Mexican nationals. They were going up to Salt Lake, I believe, for a child custody hearing, and they could legally have you can bring in legally $10,000 into the country each. And didn't matter. This cop got fired for doing the right thing. And I don't think those guys ever got their money back. And I just think that's wrong. Anybody who really looks at it knows it's wrong. And I don't care if it puts money into the department's bottom line. It's still wrong. So, again, I want to get back to not enforcing unconstitutional laws. That's probably the best way I can get away. I'm not going to enforce unconstitutional laws. I want to get back to doing what made America great, and that is our Constitution and our Bill of Rights. And I also want to teach people about their rights. This is very important because people get railroaded all the time when they're out traveling and they get into a strange county. I want people to know what their rights are. nowadays law enforcement does not want you to know what your rights are because they can trick you into, possibly going to jail. And all you did was said something wrong.
Yeah.
Things like that.
Mike, it's been really great talking with you on this interview, bud. I really appreciate you doing this. And, man, that all sounds really great to me. So hopefully it does to the people of La Paz, too. And, maybe your opponents will consider joining the next debate if they think that they have something to say about what you're doing here.
Yeah, ask them what they're afraid of or what they're hiding from. I don't get it.
Well, if I can get them on the phone, I will.
Okay, well, good luck. They're slippery.
Thanks, Mike.
All right, we'll talk to you later.
Mike Roth, everybody. Good stuff. Political debates between candidates for public office are both a long-standing tradition and arguably necessary part of our democracy. After all, it's easy to deliver carefully crafted messages. It's far harder and a better display of one's character and capabilities to engage your ideas against an opposing candidate in a live format. For this reason, La Paz County News is still offering to host political debates for the remaining races for local office. We are calling on La Paz residents who wish to see interviews and debates with candidates to reach out to them and encourage them to contact us at lapazcountynews.com to set it up. We recently published an article on our website and social media where we broke down how each of the candidates that we invited to participate in debates responded to us. In the same article, we furnished a list of all the local La Paz County candidates who are still in the race for office, along with the publicly available contact information for their campaigns. We think you should check it out and use it as a resource for reaching out to our local hopeful politicians that you would like to hear from. You can find that article along with the most up-to-date information about our debates at lapazcountynews.com/debates or by clicking debates in the menu from any page on our website. Thanks for checking out this La Paz County News special report. It's actually our first multimedia report, but you can look for a whole lot more like this and even a regular full video news broadcast coming up in the near future. La Paz County News counts on you to help share our reports and articles in the community. Help us grow by liking, sharing, and following us on Facebook and YouTube, and by subscribing to La Paz County News for free at lapazcountynews.com/subscribe. Thanks for helping us help you ditch the fake news.